So Joel, thank you. Great to see you, first of all, and thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I know you're starting a new job, hopefully on Monday, as you just told me, which is great. So thanks for taking the time to do this. Totally appreciate
Yeah,
it. And
absolutely.
yeah, and so you know, I'm so happy for you, and I know I keep saying this over and over too, but I really am because when we started. The first thing we did was create this vision of what you really wanted in your next role as a leader and all that stuff. And now as you're starting this role on Monday, it seems very much in alignment with that vision that you created way back there. And it's going to be really fulfilling and all that stuff. And it's just so amazing that you're able to create that and then go out and get it and overcome the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster of job
Mm.
searching and all that stuff. And then on top of it, in a really challenging job market, um, you got a very significant signing bonus, which is
Yeah.
unheard of these days.
Yeah.
I was blown away. So, and I say all that because it's so inspiring, and I think other people really find it inspiring, hearing about your story. So, let's go back to the beginning. What was going on before the coaching?
Mm.
Tell us a little bit about your situation before we started.
Yeah. So actually, right before we started, I had been looking. I was still employed, but knew that things were not good with the company I was at, and specifically the manager that I had. So I'd been looking for a while, and really didn't wasn't making any progress. And um, at some point, I got a prompt from while I was on LinkedIn about contacting people about um, improving my resume. And I thought, what it can't hurt. So I did that, and that's actually kind of that discouragement led to me being open to that. And that's really how, we came in contact. And um, Interestingly, between the first time we met and the second time we met, I actually was let go by the company. So it went from being I need to find something else, to more immediate need, and feeling much more anxious about it, and panicked almost about it. So that's kind of where I was, and really needing to feel like I had some path forward at that point.
Yeah, so you're kind of lacking that path forward and really understanding the job search, as I recall.
Yeah, so because I've been looking for a while, and really was just not making any progress. I was like, I got to try something different, rather than just continuing to do what I'm doing, because that didn't seem to be working. And To be honest, like when I did get let go, I mean, I knew it was coming eventually, but was surprised by the moment. Um, just the conversation that we had at the beginning, right, like right after that happened, really gave me a sense of like there's a plan. I don't know if the plan will work, but there's a plan, as opposed to just being, like feeling like there was no direction, a good direction to go. And that was very comforting to me, and really quelled a lot of I would say it was past like just general anxiety about losing my job. I was feeling panicked that like, am I going to be able to find something? And that was very, very emotionally comforting to me to say like, here's the plan and this is what we're going to do. So that was really the thing that kind of, convinced me that like I need to do this.
Nice. Yes. And that's what made you say yes,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
That feeling of being lost and uncertain, which is really common for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, and then um I mentioned this before, but well, during the job search, there were so many ups and downs,
Yeah.
and And I remember at one point you kind of wobbling a little bit and considering just applying to like a much lower level
Yeah.
and all that. And so what what kept you on track? Like how did you navigate that? Because that's a really common thing that I hear. It's like, well, maybe I can't get what I really want. Like you create this vision
Yeah.
and suddenly you're like, maybe I can't get that. So how did you navigate that? Just curious.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point in the story. I think there was almost an inflection point. So I didn't really pursue, I wasn't pursuing those types of jobs, but a former colleague of mine reached out to me. We were meeting over lunch, and he said, I don't know if you'd be interested in this, but I've got like a mid-level engineering role open, and I'd be happy to kind of sponsor you into that. And first I was kind of resistant to that, but then I decided, I should be willing to pursue an open door, and at least I would know I had a good manager. Um, and pursued it and thought, I would be able to get this job, and it didn't work out. And um, but what that did is it did kind of convince me to change the parameters of what I was willing to do, in the sense that up until that time I'd been looking for just remote roles. Um, and that kind of broadened my thinking to say, like, I think I need to be willing to relocate. And ultimately, the first company that I applied to under those kind of search criteria is the company where I ended up at. So it was an interesting point in my journey, right? Is like it felt like a low, and it was, right? But it helped me, I think, also say, I think I need to be willing to do this. And to be honest, like there were things that changed personally in my life. I have parents, elderly parents, that I was responsible for taking care of, but one of my siblings moved back into the area right about that time, and made it so that I felt like I could consider relocating. So yeah, I think it was an interesting point, and um, to your point about like how it ties into the vision, there were parts of of my career vision that were more around getting back into coding, and so I saw like uh, an openness to that I probably wouldn't have had before, um, to consider it, although it wasn't like my ideal role, and may have ended up being a short-term thing. So ultimately, it really worked out well that like that didn't work out, because shortly after that, the job that I now am starting presented itself.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Well, so let's talk a little bit about what your ROI is now,
Yeah,
and with your experience working with me so far. So where are you at now? We've talked a little bit about that, but
yeah,
tell me a little bit about that, and then how that makes you feel versus when you first started.
yeah. So I'll be starting at Capital One as a senior engineering manager, and really excited about the role. One of the things that I think I really learned about myself while working with you was just how motivated that I am by a kind of a rapid feedback cycle. So whether that's working on my networking and seeing the results of that, and being motivated by that, or fitness tracking on my watch or whatever, that tends to motivate me more. And so the role that I'm moving into has a very clear metric for success that is measurable, and so I'm much more excited about that than maybe I would have been before going through all this and kind of learning that side of myself. because I feel like that's going to be something that's really going to energize me in my work going forward. So super excited about that. From an ROI standpoint, you mentioned the signing bonus, and the hiring manager actually kind of went to bat for me to get a larger one than was expected, which makes me feel very excited about the job as well, with the hiring manager. But I'll actually be making a good bit more than I was making in my previous job, with a lot more opportunities and so forth. So I'm very excited about the role from that standpoint as well.
Nice. And then so, what positive impact has this had so far on the others around you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, I think we just kind of felt stuck, for months, not really able to plan and say like what's our future? What can we do? Um, even small things like planning vacations. It's like, can we do that or not? So I think like that's the biggest thing that we're feeling is just a sense of we're moving forward again in our lives, and we can kind of see the direction where that's headed. Of course, nothing's certain, it's like jobs don't last as long as they used to. But at least for the moment, it gives us a much clearer picture of I've got a direction to go and can kind of see the direction of my future.
Yeah, and an interesting thing there is, yes, jobs. There are no the forever job is not a thing anymore.
Right.
Like our parents. Of course, I'm just now dating myself and you a little bit, but sorry, um, but yeah, there's always there's restructuring going on left and right, and so you just
Yeah.
never know. And I think an important thing here is, I feel like, and correct me if I'm way off base or
Yeah.
wrong on this, but I feel like now you have an idea of how to do this. You're set up better. You have, all the tools and the foundation of a stronger career, so that if that does happen again, you're not
Yeah.
going to be so reactive, and you're going to be more able to get there quicker, with less stress, and also too, like, continue to network and all that stuff
Yeah.
while you're in your current role, because that's a great safety net. So, is that
Yeah,
accurate?
definitely. I think that's like one of my takeaways from this is, um, the point at which you lose your job is not necessarily too late, but it's later than
Yeah.
you would like from a preparation standpoint, right? Is like it takes time to build a network and connect with people. And so, at the point that you're like, I need a job now, um, it's much harder, I think, to get that return. So for me, I definitely feel that, um, that like I want to keep doing that, even though I'm in a role now, as kind of a insurance or safety net. And also, I think, in a leadership position for folks who are in a different point in their career is also being able to kind of demonstrate to them the value of the network building and connections, beyond their current role, knowing that nothing lasts forever. Whether it's your choice or the company's, you need to be in a place where you have those connections to be able to find the next thing.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important and so easy to forget, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, thanks for sharing that. So just lastly, what would you tell someone who's watching this right now and is unsure about taking the next step?
Yeah, I think, maybe one of the things we didn't really talk about it through all of this is that, there were ups and downs through all of this. There were points where I had interviews, thought I had a job, it didn't have come through, several times. And one of the big benefits for me was having someone to go to and kind of talk through that and say, hey, I'm really discouraged about this. How do I move forward? And there was a big emotional value to that, to me, to that beyond like any of the process stuff that we did. Um, I would say like the other big value for me was a lot of the work up front in discovering like what I want to do. What good looks like for me. And that was valuable going forward for me, just learning a lot about myself. And so I guess, to me, I would encourage anybody who's considering it to recognize the value of that, in addition to the specific process things around, generating leads and all those kinds of things, getting your resume updated, all that. But sort of that self-discovery part of it is extremely valuable in and of itself. Because a lot of times I think we just kind of get caught up in the day-to-day of work and don't really think about where we're trying to go. It's just kind of like, do today and do tomorrow, but it's not really, there isn't really a thought process behind, man, what would I really like to be doing? And so that's super, super valuable part of the process here. And then I guess lastly, I would just say, like part of what convinced me, and what was really valuable throughout all this was just like your empathy. To have somebody that I felt like actually cared about me. Just even the fact that like you're excited, happy for me that I've got a job. That's been super, super valuable to me as, the process took a long time. There were times of discouragement, times of hope, all those types of things. And it's just super, super valuable to have that outside person to keep checking in with, throughout that process to kind of keep you moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks for the kind words and the feedback there as well. I really appreciate it. And, it's just, that's why I do what I do. It's,
Mm.
seeing clients like you go from where you were, create that vision, and then go out and execute on it and actually have it happen is, in a selfish sort
Yeah.
of way, for me, is just so fulfilling. That's
Yeah.
why I do it. It feels great, and it's how I create the positive ripples in the world, because now you're going to go into that role as a leader, and it's a role where you're going to be more successful and more fulfilled and happy, and that really determines how you show up. And as a
Mm.
leader, you bring the weather, and so that trickles out to the people below you and around you, and that's how we create a better world,
Yeah.
and so it's just so, so great. It's been so great working with you. Hopefully we can work together in the future. And
Yeah.
yeah, and thank you so much, Joel, for sharing your story with everybody and all that. I think it's super inspiring. And yeah, any parting words or anything like that? Kind of feel like
Um,
there, but
I guess, I'll throw out maybe a networking thing here to say, like, if anybody sees it and wants to reach out to me on LinkedIn, please do. I'm happy to connect, and talk to folks one-on-one. Whether it's about a specific job or just about job hunting, I'm happy to do that.
nice. Well, thank you. You're such a great guy. That's a great offer. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Joel, for doing this. Totally appreciate it. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks.